So now that we've had time to digest and unravel since we found out that that member of TLC has donated to a very demonstrative cause and a demonstrative person, I think it's worth discussing why it's deeper than that, among other things. I'm Mr. Foxy I Refuse podcast. I'm back. I am going to go through a lot of things and I will meet y'all on the other side. So, first things first, we're still kind of dusting each other off after exposing Rosanda and also doing a deep dive, albeit revising history or looking back and focusing on certain moments in interviews that show that maybe things just were not as they seemed even then in the prime of their life. So, in case you haven't caught up, and this has been a moment keeping true to the theme where when somebody is exposed in real time for things they've been doing behind the curtain, we also get an education or have these conversations about the what they need, who needs it the most, right? So, as everybody knows at this point, TLC is on the verge of going on tour with En Vogue and Salt and Pepper. Now, while there truly isn't a lesser problematic evil in this lineup, you have En Vogue, who just can't seem to get on the same page with Dawn. And whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to, say all kinds of things about Dawn being irresponsible and taking it, lacking accountability, we want the original four. And two things can be true. Dawn can be very irresponsible and lack accountability, but that doesn't mean there isn't problems with the other three. You got to remember, it wasn't just Dawn that was on the outs with Terry and Cindy. At one point, it was Dawn and Maxine over here suing Terry and Cindy over here. Now that Maxine's back, it's funny, it's EV3, the lineup they had back in '97. You got Salt and Pepper, who the North remembers. The last 5 or so years, the way you've done Spinderella, and now you want to bring her back and make amends with her and say it's all good. And now you have TLC, who haven't had a hit in a long time. Now, let's be clear. It's not about having a hit. It's clear that these three groups are legacy groups. And at this point, the folks that came up when they were big were probably like in grade school and stuff. So now that we're old enough and we have money and everything, this is becoming a one-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, legacy acts, right? But of the three groups, it's clear that, and it's been clear for a while, that TLC needs something big the most because TLC didn't write their music, didn't write the lyrics. The member that did co-write some of the songs has been dead for over 20 years. And we weren't that far removed from when they looked to us to fund an album that they were going to record. Couldn't tell you the name of the album, couldn't tell you the release date, but it wasn't that long ago. So you got to remember, with the lead singer having her health issues, thus making her kind of unreliable for some dates, they can't keep a steady tour schedule. Now you have it to where you're in this place right now where this is probably the biggest moment post Left Eye as far as how much money you stand to make, because these are three international acts. Unfortunately, you can't tell me the last time the TLC has had a solo tour, whether it's domestic or international. Even in their prime, we're talking, you got Ooh and the TLC tip, you have Crazy Sexy Cool, you have Fan Mail, and you have 3D. Can you tell us the name of a world tour that TLC has done? Where it was just themselves. I mean, they may have an opening act, but it's just them. Okay, I didn't think so. And I couldn't honestly tell you the last time En Vogue was on a world tour, or Salt and Pepper. When you think of the many acts, the many African American acts, urban acts that have put in a lot of time, you're talking like 15, 20, 3 decades plus into this industry and this career. Missy Elliott just had her first solo world tour. And this is almost 15, 20 years after the cookbook. This is 5 or so years after her appearance on Katy Perry's halftime show of the Super Bowl. It's wild. So to know this, it makes you wonder, the timing couldn't have been the worst in the world. It couldn't possibly be the worst as it is right now. So when you have Chilli's statement, which clearly the team of the group that probably has the most to lose by being associated with this revelation, push Chilli into the room to make a statement. But in the shadow of that revelation, I was made aware of several things that leads me to believe that this is deeper than simply donating and following MAGA Republicans and conservatives while being a member of the demographic that loses out. It is affected the most. The All Lives Matter support, the I'm not chocolate, I'm caramel statement, the idea that she never cuts her hair, and that should tell you a whole lot. That part still tickles me. It leads me to believe that on some level, Rosanda does not love herself, does not see herself as a beautiful black woman. She does not see herself as African American. She does not see herself as worthy and deserving. And this has nothing to do with dating interracially. I mean, Chilli has dated black men in the past, Dallas and Usher. But it seems to me that when it comes to men that are white or men that are European, it's a true love. It's a true love. And there was a time when she was dating Usher, she kind of put it all on him with this this Confessions album. But we never quite got clarity as to why are we bashing Usher. And then he had that song Burn. It was just like, did she burn him? That's me reading a little bit too into it. But I was sitting here in the 7 or so days since we were tickled, we were disgusted, We were sitting here like, you did this again? Now, mind you, it is one thing to give donations like once. When Felon 47 was initially running against Hillary Clinton, and everybody was on that bandwagon that, oh, but our emails. And we knew of things about Felon 47, from his Page 6 era in New York City, the failed businesses. Why would we give him the key or the button to the free world? Because, of course, most people love money more than they love the human condition. There's no empathy. There's more indifference than anything. And now we're at a point right now where that's empowered on insurmountable levels, right? Okay, maybe you did it in 2016, but there is absolutely no excuse 5, 10 years plus since that era, 3, 4 years into the pandemic more, and knowing this information, given what we know, how much funding has been cut to key programs, to key health support for conditions, sickle cell. You're in a group with a member that suffers from sickle cell. On top of everything else, and the thing about it, there was once a time where the industry and the media curated it that left out was the issue. Looking back, she wasn't even in the top 5 of the issue charts. T-Boz sang the leads, has the talent and the star power. Probably could have went solo with the Touch Myself record. Left Eye, the more vocal member, the spirit of the group, encouraged them to bum rush Clive Davis's office for the money and causing a lot of firestorm throughout the production of the second album that ultimately led to them losing like money that they could have made with endorsement deals. Okay, but not all bad publicity is bad. There is bad publicity that served Crazy Sexy Cool very, very well. Unfortunately, when you're in a contract, multiple contracts, where you aren't even making money touring that you can pocket, it's all for no, right? So when we have this going on, right, people have also been sharing like old interview footage with particular focus to the nonverbals of Tion and Lisa while Chilli is talking, as if to insinuate that they really didn't see it for Chilli. They didn't like her. I don't think T-Boz will ever come forward and say that. Because again, they come from an era where image is just as important as the music. But you got to remember, TLC was initially Lisa and Tion. So naturally, T-Boz and Lisa are the ones with the connection. And Chilli was the plus one. But looking back at those little interviews, Chilli had a lot to say. Chilli was essentially like the Ronnie DeVoe of TLC. And it's so interesting. When I say that, I'm going to try to be as nice about it. Is it me, or do you ever notice that the member of the group that doesn't sing lead, that doesn't write, that doesn't produce on any of the songs is the one talking the most? So, in sitting back the last couple of days, I was like, is it possible that Chilli was a problem during their heyday? Because, I mean, there's only so much that biopic showed, and there was a lot of rumors since that movie came out that she was doing a lot of things that made her the thorn in other women's sides, particularly when it comes to their husbands at the time. But I wanted to get up here and talk about what has been like following me, or kind of should be discussed above all of this. I mean, they're probably not going to do well here in the US. You know, the great thing about, I guess, being an international act is, you know, at this point in your life or your career, you don't have to lean into the US market. You'll make a lot of money overseas. Like you've done all the hits, you still have the albums out. Those are still going to generate revenue and income. While most of that is not going to go to you, it's going to go to the songwriters and the producers and the label. They, I mean, TLC doesn't have to look to us to buy tickets. They might have to restructure dates and probably do two separate legs, or maybe it's going to be like a 3-month tour, most of which is going to be across the pond. But trust and believe, um, Chilli's probably like, I've done the statement. I'm moving on. Let's get this tour going on. But we got to have this discussion as to the connection between the self-hatred and the support, how that plays into the support of folks that just don't see it for us, or see it for y'all, that y'all self-hate. Y'all are hate. Y'all just do not like yourselves and don't like other black people. Which brings me back to why this is such a big deal to a lot of folks. At the end of the day, Tion and Chilli don't have to give a fuck about how we feel. I mean, everybody out here has, you know, individual opinions and choices. You don't have to stream the music. You don't have to play the albums anymore. But this tour is still going to happen. It doesn't make motion with me because she's already donated the money. And just like it doesn't have any motion with me to know that Big Boy has been revealed as a MAGA supporter and not only does he follow them, but he most likely gives them money, because the music, I never was a real Big Boy fan. Now, the dudes that I know might have gone up for him, but let's be for real. In Outkast, everybody was feeling Three Stacks more anyway. And I couldn't name 5 Big Boy's solo songs where he's credited as a solo artist. Couldn't name 5 Big Boy songs to save my life. It's just it is what it is. It confuses me though. I mean, when it comes to a person that is from the South, like there's part of me that feels like this is a generational thing. Like conservative alliance, conservative views, you know, men make the money. Men make the money, women have the babies, women fall in line, women don't work, women don't speak, and the man is the head of the household. That's what I think of when it comes to conservative views, conservative parties, Republicans, and folks that donate because they have similar beliefs. But when it comes to you don't like, you don't consider yourself an African American, you don't consider yourself a chocolate man or a chocolate woman, you consider yourself caramel as if this is Baskin Robbins. It does kind of give me the feeling that there's some colorism there. But at the end of the day, to be in your 50s, to be in your 40s, to be an adult in the early 90s and you see all of this around you, how people that look like you are treated, handled by the cops, handled by the court system, handled by the government. And without any of the music, without any of the sales, none of that is going to matter to any of the people in power. But I think on some level, because they are in a different income bracket or tax bracket, bankruptcies or not, that there is an air of, well, I'm not like them over there. Baby, prior to you joining TLC, you were one of us. There are a lot of us that didn't have a present father in the household. There were a lot of us raised in a single parent household. Had pebbles not plucked your ass from your days of being the backup dancer for Name and Dame back in the day, you could have still been us. It it's this arrogance for me. It really is. Like the air in traveling and being pretty and being cute and being part of one of the biggest selling girl groups, but not having really what it takes to have the longevity to, I mean, let's be honest, and I'm leaning into another conversation that was had, now that people are having these versus ideas. There's somebody on the timeline that's like, if there were verses, TLC would need it the most and not Destiny's Child. And that caught, I threw myself in the conversation. I was like, because people were missing the sauce. You have to remember, Destiny's Child really could have a world tour today. Not a group tour, and I think that's more indicative of the age we're in right now because a lot of the generation right now that's into Ray and Charlie XCX and Lady Gaga look at the DC4 and DC3, well, particularly DC3, as icons. And because Beyonce is still relevant, still to this day, her name being what it is, as big as it is only going to serve that even more. People instantly saw the word verses and thought, well, not true, because the lyrical quality and the song quality is different. TLC has the better set of songs and so on and so forth, but I think people were missing the point that it's clear, and it's been clear for a good while, that TLC needs the tour the most, no matter who you put them with. And it's not indicative of any attitude or, they think they're the shit and everybody else isn't. They're not a trio anymore. And Tion, who, they're both getting older. Tion still deals with her sickle cell and her issues. And you have Chilli there, who is not the lead singer. I think she only sang Leave for No Scrubs and maybe a couple of songs on Fan Mail. But Chilli is not the lead singer. And you got this high octane choreography. You're going to have all these dances and stuff. And they're probably going to lip most of that. Because again, they're older now. Joints ain't as flexible as they were in 93, as they were in 95. Hell, they got Boys to Men on tour dancing. And Wanya has lost a lot of weight. And I'll get to Wanya soon. But they definitely need it the most. Because on top of that, it's very, very clear and prominent and obvious to me that they're still not good with business. And they're probably still not good with money. And you couple that with outside being as expensive as it is, it's clear that they need it. I don't think so. At any rate, I'm Mr. Foxley. I Refuse podcast. It has been real. Thank you for joining me. Get into the I Refuse podcast. Season 7 available everywhere. Usual Suspects. Season 3 available everywhere you get your podcasts. Follow and subscribe to us on YouTube, Blue Sky, X, Instagram, Tumblr, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.